Hey, it's Dave, the founder and creator of the Remodel Estimator, and this is a completely unscripted video tutorial of our new Remodel Estimator 4. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all the new tools and functionality that will help you estimate costs and create professional proposals for your clients. What we're looking at here is the welcome dashboard, which has our estimating workflow of the steps that it takes to estimate costs for your project. So you'll initially set up your project information here, then you can estimate your costs, and then you can estimate your general conditions for the project, and then you can set up your adders such as your profit and markup on the project. So let's take a look at the first step. This is where you're going to set up your project information for the project. So the project address, the project size, your client's information and contact information, and then your company information. Now this information will be printed onto your different estimate proposals. So if you're going to be using those estimate proposals to give to your clients, I would set this information up first, and then it'll feed over to those reports. The next step is to estimate costs. So now we're on the main tool, which is the estimating tool, and you can see we've got it pre-built with common categories that you'd have on a remodel or residential construction project. And these are broken into major categories: exteriors, interiors, MEP, and other. If you click on these tabs at the top, it'll sort this information by those major categories, so you can quickly navigate around by exteriors, interiors, MEP, or other categories. So that's just something that can help you navigate around to all of the different categories. Once you get to the area that you're wanting to estimate, you'll see that you've got those pre-populated with trade categories. So there are 46 different trade categories pre-built into the estimator here. And once you click on those, it'll pull open the detailed cost database that we have for each of those items. So you can see in the roofing section here, we've got a list of common roofing items, and then we've got the unit prices over here. So essentially, to estimate costs for your project, you are going to just plug in a quantity, and then it's going to multiply it by its labor and material unit prices. So 25 times $125 for labor, $125 for material, is equal to our budget out here on the right hand side. And you can adjust these unit prices, you can adjust these descriptions to whatever you need to. We've just got it pre-built with common items, so that way you can quickly get started in using the estimator and using our estimating database that we have. But again, it's just completely customizable, so you can adjust these numbers to whatever they need to be. And basically what you can do is you can just go through and click on all these different categories, whichever categories you have on your project. Go in there, input your quantities, adjust those unit prices, and then it'll create a budget for those items. So again, you can see we've got about 16 exterior items, we've got 20 interior items, 4 or 5 MEP items, so your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing items, and then we've got some other categories down here as well. So once you get done estimating your costs, we do have something called the estimate summary, which just gives you an overview of all of your estimated costs, so that way you can quickly see what your costs are for each category. You can see what your dollar per square foot is, what the percentage is of the total, and then you can really see what the total is for the project. So on this project, we've got $105,000 is what we've estimated for the costs, and then we've got some adders here, and our project grand total is $113. So I'll get into the adders here shortly. Next, what we really want to look at is our GCs. So let's say that we've put together an estimate for the project of actual costs to the project. Now we need to think about how are we going to manage the project, or what are some of the temporary requirements that are going to be needed to build out the project. So this is when you can work on an estimate of your GCs, so office personnel that you might put on the project. So maybe we've got 40 hours of project management at whatever that project manager's labor rate is. You've got field personnel, maybe you've got a guy on site full-time, or a superintendent, or a foreman, or something like that. You can plug in field personnel hours. Temporary utilities, so maybe you're responsible for installing temporary utilities or paying for temporary electrical or lighting or something like that on the project. You can plug those values in there. Temporary requirements, this is more like temporary protection, so maybe you need to protect the hardwood floors after they've been installed, or maybe you're doing a remodel of an area that maybe there's an area that's staying and existing that you need to protect, so you need to install some zip wall or something like that, or maybe there's a storage container or office facilities or a trailer. So this is where you can start to build out all of those extra additional general requirements and conditions on the project that aren't necessarily a part of any of those categories that we have in the actual estimate. So once you get done with your general conditions estimate, you can go to your adders section. So adders is where you can plug in all of your extra costs on top of your estimate. So this is where you can plug in your building permit costs. Maybe you've got contingency for estimating, maybe there's a construction contingency, maybe your municipality charges remodeling tax that you need to include in your estimate. General liability insurance, builder's risk insurance, you can plug those values in here, build those into your estimate, and then of course you always want to make a profit on the project, so that's where you can plug that profit into the estimate as well. So one of the cool features of the adders tool is that you can actually allocate these adders to your estimate. So let's say that you don't want to show the profit on your project. Well, you can allocate these so that way they are automatically added to your estimated costs and hidden in added to those estimated costs, so they're not shown in your estimate. So right now you can see we can just go through, let's say general conditions, we don't want to show those in our estimate, we want to allocate those costs to the estimated costs. So now $7,700 is going to be automatically allocated and redistributed evenly across all of our estimated costs in our estimate. So you can see we've got a bunch of these costs allocated. We've got our contingency allocated, we've got warranty, general liability, builder's risk, and profit allocated. So we've got about $30,000 allocated on this project. So you can see our raw estimate was only $83,000, but we've got about $30,000 in adders in this project. So our total estimate with adders is $113,000. Now I'm going to show you what you can do on the reports here, where you can hide these adders from your proposal. So you can see at the top it says show raw costs or allocate adders. So if we show you this estimate proposal, these are all of our raw costs. So right now we are showing them that we have $83,000 in raw costs on the project. So actual costs for the actual repairs to the project, and then we've got soft costs of $30,000. So now if we click on allocate adders, it's going to actually hide that line from the report, and it's going to evenly distribute that across all of our estimated costs above. So that can be a way for you to hide those additional soft costs on the project and allocate them in case you don't want to show your profit on the project or show them how much contingency you have in your estimate. You can hide those from your proposal. Now in this scenario we were hiding all of our costs, so we weren't showing anything. But let's say that we want to show general liability insurance, builder's risk, and then we'll show our general conditions. So right now we have $21,000 is being allocated and only $8,000 is being shown. So now if we go back to that report and we say allocate adders here, you'll see that we're showing only a fraction of our soft costs. So this can be a good way for you to manage your adders in your estimate, so you can show which adders that you want to show in your proposal, or you can allocate and hide certain adders if you don't want to show those in your proposal. So that's a good way for you to manage those and just kind of manage everything that you're building into your estimate and really have more control of what you're showing to your clients on those proposals. Now the final section is alternates. So this is a new feature that you can use to manage cost options or alternates on your project. So let's say on this project the client wants us to provide them a breakout price for building the new deck. So let's say the base bid did not have a new deck. We were basically just leaving the existing deck to remain on the project. Well, they wanted an add alternate to provide building a new 10 by 20 foot deck. Well, this is where you can estimate out those additional costs for that deck. So we've got a 200 square foot deck times our unit price for that. We're building some stairs, a concrete pad, we're staining the deck. So that's all of your detailed information, but then you can also build in your adders. So if you want to make some additional profit on this, you can build that in here as well. So now our base estimate for this was $6,400, but with our additional $1,000 in profit, it's around $7,800 for this alternate. So this can be a good way for you to manage all of your alternates on the project, and then you can select the status, pending, accepted, rejected. And if you go over here to the summary, it'll give you a nice summary of all of the different alternates that you have, and it'll show you how you can manage those. So right now on this project, we've got a cost savings alternate for alternate number 4, and then we've got some cost additions for alternates 1 through 3, and then you can manage which ones have been accepted, which ones are pending or outstanding, and then which ones have been rejected over here. And then of course this feeds over to a nice alternates report for you. So if you need to provide this in a printer-friendly format for your client to show them the different alternates that they have on the project, you can do that as well. So that's a pretty quick overview of all of the functionality inside the estimator. Now we are going to show you just some of the reports. So you've got a summary cost proposal. This is the one I showed you earlier, but basically this is just a breakdown by each category on the project. So if you don't want to show them the detailed estimate of every single line item, that would be a good one just to show them the summary costs. The detailed cost proposal, this one provides a breakdown of all of the detailed line items that you have in your estimate. So if you have a client that's wanting a detailed breakdown of the scope of work and pricing for every single line item, you can do that as well. And again, if you want to allocate those adders, you can allocate those adders, which will automatically adjust and increase those prices for those estimate items. The next one, let's see, is going to be the scope proposal. So maybe you want to show your client the scope of work and what you're providing, but you don't want to show them a breakdown of the prices, so they're not nitpicking every single price on your estimate. You could just provide them the scope proposal, which basically shows them a detailed line item list of everything that you're planning on providing, and then it just shows them a bulk lump sum number at the very bottom of the estimate. So again, you can allocate those adders if you want to allocate some of those adders on your proposal. And then the last one is the blank proposal. So this is kind of more of a traditional proposal where it's just a blank proposal here. It has a total item, but then you can fill in some of this scope information here on this report as needed. So that's really just kind of a blank proposal that you can use if you don't want to use our other automated proposals that we have built into the software. GCs and soft costs proposal. So this is just a breakdown of your GCs and soft costs. So if you have a client that wants to see a breakdown of your general conditions that you have built into the project or your soft costs, you could provide that for them. Or this could be a good internal report that you can use to just see an overview of what kind of management you're planning for the project and what other kind of soft costs you have built into the project as well. And then the final report is the one I just showed you, the alternates report, which basically summarizes all of your information from the alternates tool. So that is a quick overview, unscripted, completely unscripted overview of the Remodel Estimator. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. Thanks. Bye.